Hey, and welcome to another broadcast, another podcast of Digital Plantation Podcast. I'm so glad that you guys can join us this wonderful, wonderful day as we're heading into the warmer months here. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I think I'm getting a little bit darker, which I am all about. That's my goal, to get darker. That's my goal. I ain't to get lighter. I'm trying to get darker, y'all. With this Arizona sun out here, I get out there and get all my sunlight and all that stuff. I'll talk more about that in a bit, but I'm excited. I'll tell you anyway. So glad that you guys can join us. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're just getting a little excerpt. You're going to get a little excerpt of the podcast. If you want to hear the rest of the podcast, make sure you dig into that. Go to the link in the description and you'll follow that and you can hear the whole thing. But don't just click on it and listen to it or whatever. Subscribe. Why do you want to subscribe to the podcast? Because when we upload things, you'll be the first to know. You'll get it. You don't have to wait for me to post a link. You'll get the notification and you'll be able to check it out and before everybody else. Okay, it's free of charge. Nobody's charging you anything for that. So we got that. So anyway, so today, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to talk about this news report that's out about a white town. This is how they're pitching it, y'all. It's a wealthy white town that wants to separate from the black people in the town. They're creating their own town. That's how they're pitching it. And we've been warning people and always been telling people for years, never make a decision or never come to a conclusion based on a headline. And we'll get into that and I'll tell you why. But we're going to have to be truthful with ourselves on this one, okay? Anyway, the next story we're going to talk about, we're going to look into these protests again. We're going to still talk about these protests and the way they're kind of setting things up. Now, I've been talking about this for some time, but we're really going to get into it and show you how far along they are with this stuff. We're also going to talk about this former presidential candidate, something he said that was really, really interesting, and you're going to have to hear it or to believe it. And then the last thing, we're going to talk about this man. You don't know, many of y'all don't know who he is, but you know his father. But this guy here has actually gotten into tech, into the tech sector. He's been in tech for some time. He develops a black man and developed his own platform. He recently uploaded a video where he's talking about some of the pushback he's getting, and guess where it's coming from, y'all? Yes. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get to it when we get to it. All right. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. And let's go ahead and get into the stories here. And like I said, again, it bears repeating, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Okay. That way you get the full story. You won't just get part of it. Like some of those of you who are watching right now, you're just getting part of it, but make sure you subscribe and get the whole thing. But anyway, let's get into it. So there's a story that is, out here that I meant to tell you about me getting the sunlight and all that stuff. Yeah, listen, if you are someone, I don't really have a problem going to sleep at night, but I know there's a lot of people who do. What I would definitely recommend is, if you, as you get the time to do it or make the time to do it, expose yourself to the sun, to sunlight. We've been pitching this and telling people this for a very long time. And I know we got some fools and idiots out there that think it's witchcraft to expose yourself to the sun. It's witchcraft, and it's like, okay, what cave you live in? I don't get it. But that's what people, trust me, you got people out there that think that. But anyway, there are many, 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 many benefits to exposing yourself intentionally to the sun, to sunlight. I'm not talking about just walking to the car or whatever, but actually laying down or sitting in your favorite chair outside and getting sunlight. Because between that and also, I would say grounding, some people say earthing, whatever you want to call it. And that's basically when you don't have shoes and you're just walking on the bare grass or on a stone or whatever. And what it does, it actually is resetting your internal clock amongst many things. It's also allowing your body, when you're grounding, to discharge all this static electricity and stuff we are picking up throughout the day. It has to go somewhere. So when you ground, it gets rid of all of that. And it has a way of resetting your body. It really does. And I know for me, between that and just exposing myself to sunlight for about maybe, as long as I can take, about maybe 20 minutes. And out here, I'm in Arizona, you can't be out there but so long because it gets pretty hot out here. By noon, I am already getting sleepy. Like I literally have to take a short nap because It's just like my body's getting itself together. And then there is no late night for me. It used to be, but not now. It's just being exposed to that constant sunlight like that has a way of just kind of getting my body in the place it's supposed to be in. Like, okay, you don't need to be up this late. You need to go to bed. And I'm telling you, it's like, it's the type of sleep where it's just like everything stops. So if you're someone out here and you are having problems going to sleep at night or whatever, I would strongly recommend you to get out there and get some sunlight in, because I'm telling you, you're going to definitely see the difference for most of you anyway. So definitely give that a try. And like I said, one of the benefits for me too, the visible ones, is you get your skin gets a little bit darker. I mean, you don't want to be out there. If I'm shadow black, that's probably not good. All joking aside, but yeah, I want to definitely get my skin to be a little bit darker. I definitely want that. But anyway, neither here or there. Now, there's a town. This is a news article that came out. I've been telling you guys about this, how, mainstream media, they always like to start things and, get people riled up and all of this stuff, right? And this is one of those stories. And let me go ahead and bring that up on the screen and we'll read it. The New York Post, of course, is covering it, but the story doesn't take place in New York. Here's the headline. It says, wealthy white. I just started cracking up when I heard this, how they were pitching this. Wealthy white Louisiana residents win right to split Baton Rouge and form their own city. How they're pitching this is just so funny. And they're trying to make it the wealthy white. That means if you're wealthy and you happen to be white, then they're pretty much leading the breadcrumbs to the doorstep of they must be racist, right? That's what they're saying here. All right, so let's read it. It says a group of wealthy white Baton Rouge, or everybody else says Baton Rouge, I don't know. Residents have won a decades long battle to split from the majority black city to form their own suburb following a state Supreme Court ruling. After reversing a lower court's decision on Friday, the Supreme Court ruled 4-3 in favor of the incorporation of St. George, which will form in southeast Baton Rouge. Let's see. This says this is the culmination of citizens exercising their constitutional rights. We voted and we won. Andrew Morrell, one of the leaders of the St. George campaign, said in a statement following the victory. Now we begin the process of delivering on our promises of a better city, he added. We welcome both our friends and foes to the table to create St. George. And then it goes on. That's just a picture of them for those who were able to see there. That's just two of them right there. And it's some more people of St. George's. They are saying vote yes and all of that, right? Much like the case with Central, the last incorporated city to be born in East Baton Rouge Parish, the St. George initiative began with hopes of residents starting a new school district before ultimately deciding to create their own city. Although the St. George supporters failed to garner enough votes in 2015, 4 years later, the initiative won the election before it was stalled by a lengthy court battle. All right, and it goes on. It says Sharon Weston Broome, the mayor president leading the combined Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge parish governments, have sued the St. George organizers, arguing that the split would siphon more than $48 million in annual tax revenue from the local government. The opposition also argued that St. George would not have the proper budget to operate on its own. All right, and goes on, and this is her right here, the mayor president. Anyway, it goes on and says, Justice William J. Crane, the author of the majority opinion, disagreed with the city's assessment and claimed that a thriving St. George could even become an asset to the declining Baton Rouge. Despite her long-standing position, Broome conceded the battle on Friday following the Supreme Court's ruling. Then it goes on to say the NAACP, however, maintained its fears that the formation of St. George will negatively impact Baton Rouge's majority black community. All right. Do I read the rest of it? Let's go on. Let's go on and continue to read here because I want to make sure y'all get everything. The St. George plan poses significant risk to our education system, threatens the continuity of critical programs, and challenges community representation. The local chapter in NAACP said in a statement on Monday, the creation of a new municipality introduces considerable uncertainty around funding allocation for our schools, jeopardizing the cornerstone of our community's future education. During the news conference on Monday at St. George's sorry, y'all. For those of you in St. George, I'm sorry, I keep adding the S on the end. I don't know why I want to do that. Fire Department headquarters, Morrell promised the residents that the new city's official will work to finally set up a new school district as he acknowledged the challenges to come. And then they showing some more pictures here. And it says, number one, we created a city. We have not created a school district, Morrell said. They are two distinct, separate animals. They have separate budgets, separate leadership structures. But I would be dishonest if I didn't tell you what's next on the agenda would be the creation of the St. George School District, which is long overdue in a parish that is near dead last in a state that is near dead last in a country in education, he added. Before the new government can be started, however, Governor Jeff Landry must appoint the city's first mayor and city council members, and it goes on. All right. That's pretty much it. I want you to hear the whole thing there before we go in and launch into this story here a little bit. Let me just say this from the rip. I'm glad for him. I am very glad for him. I really am. That here you have a community of people who were able to come together and they decided that, hey, listen, we do not want our community to go down. If it doesn't have to go down, let's do something about it. We have tried this, that, or whatever to no avail. So we're just going to create our own separate town. And there you go. That's it. And this is when I say I'm glad for him, that's a period. That's no asterisk by that. I really am. I'm glad to see when people come together and they're able to do something such as this. And I don't see any problem with that. I don't have any problem with that at all. And I would say this, any person, and particularly any black person that has a problem with this, it really says a lot about you as we're going to get into this. We're going to get into, I provided some examples here. But I personally don't see any problem with that. Now, I do understand what they're saying. You know, when there's an annex, anytime there's a part of a city, a major area that says, hey, listen, we don't want to do this shared structure thing. Is enough of us in this corner of the town or the city or whatever. We just want to spin off and create our own thing. We don't want to do this whole shared thing anymore. We want to, there's enough people here. And in this corner, we really do care about our community. We are very active in it. And we don't want to be the people that feel that where we feel like we have to toe the line for the 99% that really ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I remember saying, and so anyway, so the way this story has been pitched, again, with the title, they tried to make it seem as if like this is the only place in America where this is happening. And it's not true. There are many places throughout America where this has been happening. This is a growing trend. I remember, were we living in Georgia at this time? I can't remember. Either we had to be living in Georgia. I think we were living in Georgia. There's a town, it's right off 285, Sandy Springs. I think that's what it was, Sandy Springs. And Sandy Springs used to be a part of Atlanta. It was part of the Atlanta municipality or whatever. It was part of that, right? Or Fulton County or something. I forgot what it was. It was like, I think Atlanta, that's what it was. And if you've never been through Sandy Springs, I haven't been through Sandy Springs in years, so I can't really comment on what it looks like now. But when we were living in that, in Georgia, it was pretty much white. Very nice homes, very nice looking community. It was pretty much white, but it was a nice, like I said again, it's a nice area. And they made the decision to spin off. And the reason why is they were saying is because one of the resources they were talking about is like 911. Like if the police, for example, they kept having to pay more and more and more for police protection. But the problem was that the police, most of their activity was outside of Sandy Springs. You understand what I'm saying? Why are we paying for them? We're actually paying for the services for somebody else. We ain't really doing nothing up here. Why are we paying for that? That was one of the things I remember was one of the reasons, that some of the services that they were paying when it comes to their taxes and stuff like that, it was going to services that they were not really getting the full benefit of it because the services were being used majority in these other areas. Right. And then later on, Buckhead, I think Buckhead just spun off since then. Now, Buckhead, for those who aren't familiar with Atlanta, now that's a lot closer. Sandy Springs is, I don't know if it crosses in on the other side of 285 or not. I know it's on the outskirts of 285, meaning like if you go to Perimeter Mall in that area, that's like outskirts, literally right outside of 285. You get off the exit, it's like Sandy Springs all around there. I don't know if Sandy Springs crosses on the other side of 285. I'm not sure. But Buckhead, for sure, I do know. It's within closer in the perimeter, of 285. And Buckhead made the decision. They said, hey, listen, we want to spin off. We want to have nothing to do with Atlanta. We have the resources here. We want our resources to go, to service us. We don't want to be paying all these taxes and it's serving South Fulton and all these other areas. When we call the cops, we want the cops to make sure they come in here to us, that we're the priority. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't see any problem with that at all. And like I said, again, I reiterate, any black person or anybody else that has a problem with that, you the problem because you're not being honest here. Now, I'm just going to go through just a few examples of what I'm talking about, because the next thing that I would hear some of our people say, well, they're going to do that, then we'll don't. And like I said, again, this will be the worst thing for you to say. But I know many of our people will say this, so I'm going to head it off at the pass. Well, they're going to do it, then we should start our own stuff. Why did you say that? I mean, literally, why did you let that come out of your mouth? Why did you do that? Did you not know what you just walked into? Well, since you said it, let me go ahead and let's talk about it. I'll give you some examples. Jackson, Mississippi. Now, Jackson, Mississippi is an area where it's pretty much black folks really control that city. Now, this is a city traditionally going back, it was very racist, like white people running that thing, you had Jim Crow, all that stuff going on. But, times have changed and all that. And then we wanted black representation, right? We wanted some black faces in high places. And we thought that by having black faces in high places, that was the key. So we put color over character. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what happened. And it wasn't until, and so people in Jackson, Mississippi have been complaining. I don't know what it's like as of right now, but I know that many of you remember, and it's hit national news, they were having a severe water crisis, not because it wasn't raining. It was because of mismanagement, very gross mismanagement that was happening just over water. And they had video of like the town hall meetings and stuff, and people were heated, and rightfully so. It was so bad that you had to have people who lived outside of Jackson coming in and bringing water because they couldn't get it together. There was a black owned water company, spring company. They owned their own natural spring, and they were bringing in water for the people there. All right. So the government failed them. So they had to step up and they had to be the people. So the regular people had to come together with their own solution. Okay. And then also remember the waste management stuff. Waste management. We had one person, we were doing a live broadcast, call in and tell us that, or not call in, I think maybe they called in. I know it was either call in or email, one of the two, to let us know that, hey, listen, it's very bad down here. I hope you let people know. You know, she said trash is piled up everywhere, you know, because, again, there was a lot of, you know, back and forth. No, it's not us, it's them, this, that, whatever. Meanwhile, you know, as hot as it get down there, you got trash all over the place. This is a black-owned town, black-run, operated town. I'll just put it that way. Then we can take a trip up to Dalton, Illinois, where you have the mayor, Tiffany Haynyard. Hope I'm saying her name right. Yeah. I mean, the people, they see what the devil she really is now. This is a mayor, black woman, who basically has taken city money, going on trips, going to Vegas, doing all this other stuff, threatening local businesses. I mean, just great, talking down on residents, talking down on council members, and they sitting around acting like they can't do anything about it. It got so bad they had to call the feds in to try to reel her in. Because the residents, they finally realized, oh, snap, I guess it is about character. I guess that's what it's about. I guess it is about character. But it's too late now. She's already in office. She done already tore up your town. It's too late now. Now, whoever else becomes mayor in that town, they're going to have a whole lot of cleanup that they're going to have to do. City of Philadelphia. Another example. Now, I wasn't living in Philly. We were living across the bridge at this time. But some of y'all are old enough and you remember the Move bombing. Okay, Move. This is a name of a, let's just say, an organization, a black organization or whatever. They're more on the radical side. And basically, long story short, a lot of neighbors start complaining because of different things they were doing or whatever. So now they're in at that time, it was pretty much a black area, right? And so it got so bad, the city for the longest time was sending cops by there to try to investigate or whatever. And then finally something happened where someone shot somebody and then it just quickly escalated. Long story short, now at this time, Wilson Good, he's the mayor, first black mayor of Philadelphia. And the police department in Philadelphia were at that time, and I would probably say to a degree, maybe even now, but certainly not as bad as it was in those days, because you had like Frank Rizzo and somebody, that's like Frank Rizzo kind of days, you know what I mean? And if you know Frank Rizzo, just look him up. And like Bull Connor of the North, basically. And so anyway, long story short, the police department basically it entered into a shootout with these people inside this home, right? And so basically they said, listen, we're trying to get these people up out of here because they got to get out of here. You shooting guns and automatic rifles and stuff like that, you got to get up out of here. So the police department went up to Wilson Good, the first black mayor, and said, hey, listen, we got an idea. We got some bomb plastic or something like that. And we got an idea. We can fly over on top of the house and drop this bomb, this makeshift bomb. And what that will do is it will just only kind of shock them. And then it will just basically force them, hopefully, to get out. I know I'm taking time with this story, but you're going to have to sit down and listen to it. And so anyway, the bomb drop. Well, yeah, it caused a disruption. But it also caused a fire. Most of the people in the house wind up getting burned to death, except like 2 people. That whole community, it was like several blocks. The fire just spread all over the place. Several blocks of homes all burnt down. Well, if you think the story ends there, it gets even crazier than that. So after the smoke clears, the city, Wilson Good gets up there. We promise we're going to get up there and we're going to build back better. You know how they do, right? So the city does, like what any other city does. They're going to go with the cheapest construction workers. And for years, there was huge complaint because once they build these homes, these poor people who lost pretty much everything were complaining about how bad the quality of the homes were that were built by the city under this black mayor. I mean, you had stuff falling off and everything. The quality of these homes was so trashy. And then now, fast all the way forward, if you drive through that section today, you're going to find a number of white people living there now. It's called gentrification. And if they're going to move into that city, into that town, the home's going to be right and tight. So this is what we're dealing with here. So I can go down the list of example after example after example after example after example. What contributes to this, you may ask? Well, there's a lot of things. See, some people will be quick to go to, going back, brother, what you're missing is, see, if these white people leave, then what's going to happen? The rest of the city is just going to go down because those tech dollars are going to go funneled to the white people because they pay in most of the taxes. Okay, I see where you're going with that. However, what is all this nonsense that we've been pitching out here for years? Negroes been getting on social media, Negroes getting on all these different platforms, preaching and talking about all in churches how we need to come together, we need to get together. What about, shouldn't this be a rallying call for all them freaking churches down there that have been collecting all of that tithe money for years and saying, hey, listen, now there's going to be a dip here. So what we need to do now as churches, let's put our money together and we're going to make sure that we're going to build the schools that we want. All right. How about those fraternities and sororities down there? We're going to put our money together and we're going to build the community that we want with our money. I don't see the problem with that. Why is that? Why is it that we got the NAA ratchet CP that's still pushing this, well, if the white man leave, then we ain't gonna have nothing. Woe is us. The white people leaving, we ain't gonna have nothing. And see, this is exactly how they want us to continue to think as a people, that our hopes and dreams and our wishes and our aspirations are all tied to where white people are. This is why today in 2024, you still got black folks that will leave a situation like that and will follow where Mr. Charlie goes. Mr. Charlie going out to the suburbs, we're going to go out to the suburbs. Why? Because their ice cream machines don't break. Basically, I think you know what I'm saying. That we ain't got to worry. I ain't got to be looking over my shoulder when I'm in that community. But when I'm in this community, it's all of this. Now, I'm not shading people who opt to live in the suburbs. I think everybody wants to live in a safe environment. I think most people do. I have to preface that. I think most people want to live in a safe environment. And I think if you have the means to do so, you should do it. When I would hear people oftentimes being critical of black folks who leave these areas and saying, well, you left this area, you doing all that talking, where you living? You living with the white people? Yes, I am. Exactly. In this community, it's a good percentage of white people. You know why? Because I got years and years of experience trying to get our people together. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's nothing more damning than trying to get people together that don't want to get together. I'm trying to tell you, you won't say it, but I will. Do you know how hard it is to try to get people together that really don't want to work together, that will always try to find a reason not to work together? They'll nitpick on this and that or whatever. And you got to keep reminding them over and over again. Hey, listen, this is just the beginning. What we are aspiring to, it's not going to happen overnight. Oh man, you just doing it. See, that's why I don't like, I'm going to do my own thing. Oh, honey, I could tell you some stories now. I could tell you years of stories, and I'm not the only one. So we have to be honest with ourselves when we're talking about these kind of things and realize that the fact that we're running from ourselves. So you do have good examples out there on the flip where you do have black folks. There's a story, I think, in Georgia that it was like, I forgot how many black families that all got together. It was like 20 of them. They got together, found a large piece of land, and they said, we're going to start building on here. We're going to build our own homes and share resources, that kind of thing. I'm all for that. And I hope that it works out for them. I really do. And I think that's the way to go. I really think that is a good way to go. If you have the means to do it, if you have other people that share, that you have experience with for a very long time, you didn't just meet them on Facebook. You didn't just meet them on a couple of on TikTok or whatever. But I mean, you really have some meaningful relationships with these people. Then by all means, you should do that. But what I do not think, what I'm not an advocate for, is when people try to do that and religion is the thing that ties you together. No, absolutely not. I don't think you should do that. I've seen too many examples of that when religion, being in a church environment, Hebrew environment, I'm telling you right now, it's not the way to go. I can't imagine living in you just chilling out on Saturday and then someone peeking out their window. Brother, I noticed that this Saturday now, you supposed to be doing the law statutes. See, I'm not the one. See, I would not be the one for that. Okay. I do what I want. This is my home. I pay for it. Okay. I'm a good neighbor. I'll look out for you. I hope you look out for me, but don't be getting on me about some religious stuff. Okay. Ain't nobody doing that. Okay. We just stick to what we said we're going to do. And that's it. So I'm not a proponent for that at all, because, and then either that or it turns into some military base. And no, I'm not doing that. But there are good examples out there where black people have bought large pieces of land, maybe a few families, and some you may not see them on TikTok or social media. They just do it on the low. You know what I mean? And been doing it for a very long time. And this is something that you've seen if you go back into our history after the Civil War and all of that. You had black people who did have large pieces of land, and you had several families that lived on it. So it's not a new concept for us. It's just that in today's world, what we're dealing with now are a lot of things that unfortunately have gotten lost, such as valuing character, such as holding each other accountable. You know what I'm saying? It's not a poverty thing as much as people want to try to make it like into a poverty thing. I think you can do pretty much anything you want if you got the right people around you and you have the will to do it. You can make, if you don't have it, you can find a way to make it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't believe that finances are really the barrier to keeping black folks from doing that. I just think that, like I said, again, I talk plain here. I just think that our people pretty much, we hate ourselves too much to make that a success, to be a model that's repeated all over the country. I think we just have too much self-hatred for that to happen. I know you don't like to hear that, but it's true. It's very true. And it's unfortunate, but it does, but this is what it is. And we're not bold enough to face these things. Instead, we want to keep making excuses for it. I don't want, so I don't blame these families these people that want to get together and say, hey, listen, we're going to build our own communities, doggone it. I don't want to be dealing with this stuff. I mean, why am I dealing with crime and all that? And I'm paying for that, and I ain't got nothing to do with that. Why I got to walk in my own community in fear? Why is it that if I'm calling 911, I'm put all the way at the bottom of the queue, even though my community we ain't doing none of that stuff. So I don't blame these people at all. And I, any Negro that get out here and want to do videos and stuff and want to condemn that, it shows exactly what you're about. And if you don't start, so like I tell people at the end of the day, and I'm done with this story, at the end of the day, you got to build your own community. You understand what I'm saying? You have to, and we're in a day and time right now when you have to build your own community. And it does. And when I say build your own community, I'm not necessarily talking about buying land. I'm talking about building your own network of people that you can rely on, that you can depend on, and people that you can grow with. And in doing so, what you're going to discover is that some of those people ain't going to look like you. Yeah, I remember saying that before, and people got in my comments and got all mad with it, but it's true anyhow. There's some people that are going to be in your community. They ain't going to look like you. There's going to be some people in there that may be Hispanic. There may be some people in there that's going to be white. There's going to be some people in there that's going to be maybe of a different race. You need to have some black folks in there too, but if the people don't have character has to lead the way. It don't matter what their color is. They got to be people that have good moral character. That's where it begins. And whatever that falls in, whatever category that falls in, be they black, white, Asian, whatever, so what? Come on in. You got good character. You and I, we've developed a long history with each other. We know each other. We got each other's back, and we have a history of doing that. Okay, come on in the room. But I'm not going to just be waving you in simply because you look like me. You understand what I'm saying? And there are many people that don't understand that and don't want to receive that because it doesn't match what they've been told. But what you've been told is one big freaking lie, because when you continue to build, this is what I don't get. Our people will continue to build on that narrative and fail at every time. You'll fail on it literally every time. And then you scratch your head like, well, gee, I don't understand why this ain't working, because you're leading off with color and not character. And like I said again, character can come in any color, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, the dream would be to have a whole community and nothing but black folks. I would love for that. Absolutely. But if the character ain't matching, guess where I'm going? I'm going to Apple Orchard Hills. Basically, you understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't have to lose who I am in that space. You understand what I'm saying? That ain't happening. I'm still going to be me, but at the same time, my priority is the safety and the well-being of my family. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if you don't have the wherewithal or the willingness to have that same commitment about your family, well, guess what? I don't have any commitment to you. You go down on that ship, not me. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how it should be. All right. So anyway, let's move on to this next story. Hey, there's a lot more to this podcast. It didn't stop here. There's a lot more. Make sure you check the description box below so that you can get the rest of the story. Okay. Remember, subscribe to our podcast. It is called Digital Plantation Podcast. And there's plenty more podcasts where that comes from. So I'll see you over there so you can hear the rest of this podcast. Take care.